Good to have you back to the channel. In the early 20th century, a black middle class community in Greenwood built a successful business empire and thrived in TULSA, Oklahoma, in the US, despite segregation. Consequently, it was declared the Black Wall Street of America. However, it may come to you as a surprise that all the achievements and the business empires were destroyed during one of America's racial genocide, or massacre if you like. Stay tuned. Let us examine how and what triggered the massacre. Grab a cuppa, of course I mean a cup of tea, and then subscribe. Meanwhile, before I soldier on, the story I'm about to tell is not a fabrication. Rather, it is a documentary event of what transpired between white and black people in 1921 in TULSA. And I'm not promoting or in support of any form of hatred towards whites and black people. This video is for educational purposes. Moving on. Stay tuned. Let me break it down. You see, TULSA is the second largest city in the state of Oklahoma in the US. And Greenwood is a district in TULSA. To inform you, TULSA economic boom around the turn of the 20th century. Why? Because oil was discovered in Oklahoma, therefore creating jobs and attracting people, including the blacks who migrated to the area. Okay, this is what you should know. During the era, TULSA was divided into two cities or parts, if you like. The white reside in the south end and the black in the north end. While the blacks were allowed to work in the white predominantly neighbor, they were not allowed to shop or socialize in the white community. And the separation posed a challenge to the black community because they were not, or they could not buy basic items for their household. And shortly afterwards, in 1906, a wealthy American landowner, the gentleman you are looking here, named O.W. Gale, moved to TULSA and bought 40 acres of land that he opted to only sell to black settlers. And this marks the beginning of the creation of the business empire in Greenwood. Essentially, and I quote, Greenwood was perceived as a place to escape oppression, economic, social, political oppression in the deep south, end quote. That said, okay, now I'm convinced you got the picture, so stay with me. Now let us examine some of the achievements in TULSA. You remember this gentleman, Gale, the man who purchased 40 acres of land. He wasted no time opening a rooming house, purchasing buildings, and providing loan to help other black people start their businesses. J.B. Stratford, son of a formerly enslaved man, was a lawyer from Kentucky, Stratford, invested in real estate properties and built the Stratford Hotel on Greenwood Avenue, a luxurious establishment that was considered the largest black-owned hotel in the country, with 54 guest suites, a pool, salon, and dining room. In 1913, Booker T. Washington High School opened hiring Walker Woods as its principal, a beloved educator who who served in that role for 35 years. Simon Berry, a pilot, responded to TULSA white-only tax service by starting its own with a Model T4, then expanding operation to include a bus line and later a charter plane service for wealthy oilmen. John and Laura Williams became one of the wealthiest people in Tulsa. They owned the Dreamland Theater on Greenwood Avenue, along with rooming houses, a conventionally commercial rental property, and a garage. Made Little open a successful hair salon and worked in the beauty business for decades. So, given this picture, one could say within a short period, Greenwood became a robust and self-sustaining community, which boosted barbershops, salons, clothing stores, jewelers, restaurants, pools, movie houses, grocery, as well as office for doctors, dentists, and lawyers, etc. And listen to this. This is interesting. You see, according to a documentary evidence, the state of Oklahoma had only 2 airports. Yet, 6 black families own their planes. Wow. So, in my opinion, given all this achievement and success in Greenwood district, TULSA during that period, in my opinion, proved that quote unquote sunshine people, often called black people, were capable of building businesses empire and creating wealth and jobs. And listen to this. This is becoming very interesting. In another development, yes, during that period, there were 3 blacks in Oklahoma, quote unquote, worth $1 million each. A man named J.W. Thompson was worth $500,000. There were a number of men and women worth $100,000 and many other possessions, end quote, were valued at $25,000 and $50,000 each. This was particularly true of Tulsa. Where there were 2 colored men worth $150,000 each, 2 worth $10,000, 2 worth $100,000, 3 $50,000, and 4 were assessed at $25,000 each. Okay, now please listen to this. You see, you and I know that amount in today's money will be in billions of dollars. So again, you agree with me that the challenge of segregation and by not allowing the black to shop in white owned stores create economic success for the black communities beyond anybody imagination. So what ignited the riot and subsequently the massacre? Stay tuned, I got your back. Meanwhile, hear this. Before the riot of 1921 in Greenwood, Tulsa, there were over 25 race riots in America, in Nebraska, Pennsylvania, etc. The worst in Chicago in 1919, which claimed the lives of 39 people and rendered 1,000 black people homeless. And the race riots were characterized by white people invading black community. And I quote, aided by the police and sometimes by unmasked people. White people, let me repeat that again, aided by the police and sometimes by unmasked white people. Unmasked white people attacking black community, attacking black businesses and homes, end quote. Please note, these are not my words, but that of Dr. Scott A. Ellsworth, the gentleman you're looking on the screen now, an historian and author. He is a white man. Now, so what triggered the riot of 1921? Stay with me, and let me read directly from the history account as documented. Yes, stay with me. You see, in the incident began on the morning of May 30th, 1921, after a young black man named Dick Rowland, who walked shining shoe, rode the elevator of TULSA, the Rexel building, to use one of the few available segregated public restroom downtown. After the female elevator operator screamed, Rowland fled the elevator, and rumors quickly spread of an alleged sexual assault. Wow. The next day, he was arrested, leading to an armed confrontation outside the courthouse between the growing white crowd and black men, hoping to defend Rowland from being lynched. As things became heated and shots were fired, the vastly outnumbered African Americans retreated to the Greenwood district, meaning the white people outnumbered them. The white group followed, and as the night unfolded, violence exploded throughout the night and into the June 1. Much of Greenwood became enveloped in billowing dark smoke as members of the mob went from house to house and store to store. Yes. Looting and then touching buildings. Fleeing residents were sometimes shot in the street. Many survivors report low-flying planes, some raining down bullets or inflammable. Wow. Unbelievable and very sad. All the business empire and homes were etc. were destroyed, and the total cost of damage was estimated to be over 5 million then, while in today's estimation it would be in the billions of dollars. The devastation in Greenwood, TULSA, is staggering. Ultimately, the economy of TULSA came to an end, and then, according to historical accounts, the race riot lasted for over 17 hours, meaning in less than 24 hours, Black American community or Black World Center was totally burned, and as TULSA city burns down, 90% of Black African Americans were held at the internment center. Estimated 200 people dead, more than 1,000 homes and businesses decimated. And again, it may come to you as a surprise to hear that the killing, looting, burning, which was carried out by the white people, none of the white was charged for any wrongdoing. However, Sarah Page, remember the operator, did not testify against Rowland, who worked as a shoe shiner. And Rowland, in all this, very incredible, was safe. Incredible indeed. However, there was plan to rebuild the Greenwood in TULSA. And in another development, it may come to you as a surprise again to hear that the Reconstruction Commission in charge tried to steal the land which belonged to Black African again. Talking about TULSA, this is not my word. Let me quote, they tried to steal the land which belonged to Black African, talking about Greenwood in TULSA, end quote. Not my words, but that of Dr. Scott Ellsworth, historian, author, a white man. And the set of people who committed the genocide, the looting, destruction of property, death, would not admit their guilt. Yes, they won't admit it. they have been trying to obliterate it from the American history. But some school of thought, including the white people, as I mentioned, this gentleman, have argued against it. Now, listen to this. This, and I quote, "This was a riot. This was a massacre. Biden, American president, slams effort to erase 1921 slaughter of black TULSA residents from history and says is here to free the silence on the 100th anniversary." End quote. It was a quote from Biden. Meanwhile, after 100 years, a cultural center has been built in Greenwood, which stand as a monument to the scores of pioneers, trailblazers, entrepreneurs, professionals, politicals, and citizens who created a renowned and respected community despite formidable odds. Wow. Isn't that incredible? Now, and then you need to listen to this. A group of Oklahomans led by 105 old years old woman, this woman you're looking at, filed a lawsuit on Tuesday 2020 demanding, oh yes, you heard me, demanding for the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, which saw white mobs burn down a thriving black neighborhood and kill hundreds of people. Now please take a pause. I want you to take a pause now. I want you to just imagine what black street war would have been today. I mean, in terms of economic contribution to America and the society at large. It will not only create jobs, but also generate revenue for Uncle Sam in America. Of course, you know Uncle Sam, the tax bill. Okay, here comes the best part. Subscribe, like, and comment. Remember, the goal is to generate wealth, build companies, and then create jobs. Bye now. See you soon.